Hello, everyone. I hope you are all safe and sound. Please pay attention for today's topic and open your notebooks so you can take notes of the key points of the lesson. But before the lesson proper, I would like you to take a look at your screen, this one. And this is an aerial photograph of Hong Kong, China. You can see modern skyscrapers next to traditional areas with low-level housing and agriculture. So I would like you to think, what types of job do you think people in both areas work? For example, what kind of jobs are people living near the skyscrapers work? And what types of job are people living in low-level housing and agriculture work? So are they engineer? Are they a teacher or farmer? So which area would you prefer to live? Would you like to live in an area surrounded by skyscrapers or tall buildings? Or would you like to live in an area near the countryside where you can see grass, trees, and forests? Okay? So imagine what will happen to this photograph in the next 20 years. How do you think it will affect the lives of its people or its citizens? Okay? So, for today's lesson, we're going to talk about cities. And I would like you to reflect and try to answer the following questions. First, what is the difference between rural and urban settlements? What is a city and how does it change over time? Then we have the next one. What functions does a city have and what is its urban design? What relationships do cities have and where are they within the global urban hierarchy? Then last, what is the urban system in Spain and how are its cities structured? So we have this question. Let's review the question. So what is the difference between rural and urban settlements? That's the first one. Second, what is the city and how does it change over time? What are the changes that happen in a city? Third, what functions does a city have and what is its urban design? So the design of the city. What functions or what are the tasks of the city? Okay, next one. What relationship do cities have? Where are they within the global urban hierarchy? Okay? And last, what is the urban system in Spain and how are its cities structured? So these are the questions I would like you to reflect and try to answer these questions as much as possible. Okay, let's now move on to the next one. So we have the definition of types of settlements, okay? Rural and urban settlements. So there are two types of settlements. We have the rural and we have the urban, okay? People form settlements when they live together in a territory. So those people who gathered together within a space or a given territory, they're forming a settlement. The following criteria has traditionally been used to classify settlements as rural or urban. So there are two ways on which we can say whether a certain territory or a certain settlement is a rural one or an urban one. First, size. Rural settlements have smaller populations than cities. Second, economic activity. Urban populations work mainly in industry or in tertiary sector. In rural areas, many people work in agriculture. When we say tertiary sector, we're talking about services. For example, like industries or banking or insurance. These are called tertiary sector, or like Globo or El Corte Inglés. Those companies that offer services, not only goods, to its people. Okay? Then we have also the definition of rural settlement. So, rural settlements are usually located in areas where water and fertile land are found. Agriculture, grazing, and forestry can all be carried out in this type of environment. There are two types of rural settlements. First, dispersed settlement. The population lives in independent housing that is dispersed across an extensive territory. This type of settlement is common in some parts of northern Spain, especially in mountainous regions. So, rural settlements, it says that they are located in areas where remember, water and fertile land are found. Okay, so their main economic activities are agriculture, grazing, and forestry. So, dispersed settlement, it means that population lives in an independent housing in a very extensive, when we say extensive, very large territory, and usually in mountainous area. Okay, so that is dispersed settlement. Next, we have, next one is concentrated settlement. Concentrated settlements, buildings are built close together, forming villages and small towns. This type of settlement is common in many Spanish regions, like Castilla-La Mancha and Extremadura. So, when we say concentrated settlement, you have to remember that it forms village and small towns. Yeah. And they have buildings that are built or created close together so they can form villages or small towns. Okay? Now, let's move on to the next one. We have urban settlement. An urban environment is very different from a rural landscape. Urban settlements have high population densities. When we say high population densities, it means that there are many people within a given territory. Okay? The urban population has grown considerably over the last 2 centuries. When we say last 2 centuries, 200 years, because 1 century is 100 years, okay? Mainly as a result of rural exodus. When we say exodus, departure, or people from rural area leaving or departing from the rural area to the urban area. Okay? The main consequences of high population densities in urban areas are: first, services and industrial activities are located in fairly small areas. So, for example, because there are a lot of population and a lot of buildings, so in a territory, there are only very small areas and services together. Yeah. So you can see many branches of El Corte Inglés or McDonald's or KFC, other food chains or bars or restaurants. Okay, taller buildings that are closer together. So you can see tall buildings, skyscrapers. Yeah, these are urban settlements. Cities are centers of communications with airports and train stations. Transportation in urban areas becomes highly complex because it includes several transport networks, creating a great deal of traffic. Okay, so let's try to summarize the urban area or urban settlements. So first, urban settlements has a very different landscape from that of rural area. It has high population densities, meaning there are a lot of people. Then services and industrial activities are located in fairly small areas. So there are a lot of food chains, a lot of restaurants or bars or services within a small area. Okay? Then there are taller buildings or skyscraper that are next to each other. And also the centers of communication or transport chains going to airport or going to another city or another area or train station. So as a result of transport networks, there is a great deal of traffic. Okay? So let's try to summarize everything that we've learned on this page. So we have the word settlement. When we say settlements, people live together in a given territory. So there are two types of settlements. We have the rural settlement and we have the urban settlement. In order for us to know whether a certain territory is urban or rural, there are two criteria or two main features. So we have size and economic activity. So when we say size, rural area or people in the rural area or rural settlements, they have very small population as compared with people living in the urban area. And second is the economic activity. So the people in the rural area are more engaged into agriculture, farming, pasturing, grazing, forestry, and the economic activity of people in the urban settlements are more of services or tertiary sectors. Like we have banking, we have insurance, we have some transport, you have pharmacies, yeah, more of like services. Yeah. So rural settlements there are two types of rural settlements. So we have dispersed settlements and we have concentrated settlements. When we say dispersed settlements, it means an independent housing that is dispersed across an extensive territory. So usually in mountainous area and in the northern part of Spain. Then we also have the concentrated settlements, which buildings are designed close together to form a village or to create a village or small town, like the regions of Castilla-La Mancha and Extremadura. Then, when we say urban settlements, they have high density population and they have very different landscape with that of rural area. They are giving services and industrial activities in a very small area. They have very tall buildings or skyscrapers that are close with each other. And they have a very good transport networks that sometimes, because it's so complex, it can have or create a great deal of traffic. Okay, so last, we have, let's go with the next one. The relationship. This is the relationship between rural and urban areas. The difference between the two types of settlement is not as great now as it was several decades ago. Technology and communication have improved greatly, transforming the relationship between rural and urban areas. So, for example, um, because now there's technology, we have internet, we have machineries, um, all of this. The difference between rural area and urban area is not that great compared few years ago. So today, agriculture work is done mainly by machines. So many people who live in the countryside no longer work on farms. Then second, many inhabitants of rural areas commute. When we say commute, they use public transportation to move from one place to another, to their places of work in the city. Factories and companies have moved out of cities and located in neighboring regions where land is cheap.